Well, hello, everyone. Don Terrell here with the Color of Motion. I want to welcome everybody to another great show. Again, this is the Color of Motion where I interview and highlight people of color and from diverse backgrounds in the field of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. And I am so excited for today's show here. Uh, you know the drill. Please let me know, Mr. Brian Little. I appreciate you quickly tuning in there. I hope your weekend is going great there. Mr. Ian McKinney, I appreciate you joining and tuning in here. So excited for today's show and today's guest. We're going to have a nice, great sit down and talk with my new guest here. Doing a little housekeeping, I encourage you to share this broadcast and show. I am making sure that we are broadcasting on all my channels. I broadcast live on Facebook, YouTube, and my LinkedIn channel. So you can catch them on any of those three platforms. And I just want to make sure that I am broadcasting on all the platforms here. I hope everybody is having a great day so far. And please don't think that I'm looking away from you. I'm just checking my other monitor here to make sure that I'm broadcasting okay. I am broadcasting on LinkedIn. I want to make sure that I'm broadcasting on YouTube, my YouTube channel. We broadcast every Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m., as you know, because you're here and you're tuning in. 3 p.m. every Saturday. And can you believe it? This is the fourth episode 4. They go by so quick, for sure. And I am on episode 4. If you're just jumping in, please make sure you let me know where you are tuning in from, who you are, so I can show you some love. I always like to acknowledge my viewers and the people that tune in for sure. Want to make sure that I'm broadcasting on my YouTube and I am live on Facebook. All right, so I am good to go. I would also like to know, because this was a question that was really kind of brought up with me. I was talking with the guests. Let me know where, especially on LinkedIn, I'd like to know if the broadcast shows up in your feed. Because I was telling my guests that when I check the broadcast, because I'm broadcasting, I have to go to my post section and watch the broadcast live from my post and activity section. But I'm assuming as a viewer, when you get the notification when I go live, it shows up in your feed. And please, to get the notification, make sure that you're following me or subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you'll get notifications of when I go live. So I'm good to go. Again, please make sure that you share this broadcasting because sharing is caring. Also, if you happen to be tuning in from another page or group, make sure that you give StreamYard permission from Facebook's side to pull your avatar and your comments so that I could throw it up on the screen and show you some love. All right. Go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Again, I'm Don Terrell, and this is the Color of Motion where stories come in all shades. And so enjoy connecting with so many talented designers, artists, and people in the industry. And again, really highlighting the people that normally aren't highlighted. Okay, so we are live. We're broadcasting. And so I think I can introduce our guest. I'm so excited to dive into a conversation with our guest. I connected with him on LinkedIn some time ago, and we've built a great friendship. And so enjoy his work. Very talented brother. Like I said, I've been pushing his new product, Black female characters, drawing Black female characters. He does such beautiful work, to be sure. My next guest is a professional digital artist and animation director with over 7 years of experience. He started out in the comics production in 2012 and later founded Scroll Entertainment, an animation based studio based in Lagos, Nigeria. So I also want to thank him for joining on because it's a serious time difference. It's late in the evening in Lagos, Nigeria, but he founded the animation company in 2015, directed the production of an animated short film, a short concept story based on the popular Marvel Black Panther, which is another topic I want to kind of dive in with him. The success of the short film has inspired him to dream even bigger, leading his organization to take a quantum leap into the international film project that will be aiming for an Academy Award in 2022. The animation is about 7 minutes long and will showcase various colorful and original cultural elements of Nigeria, including the indigenous music of the LGBO people. He's also trained over 100 artists, animators in Nigeria. Ultimately, what gives him joy and fulfillment is impacting the people and the economy of his nation significantly through career training, employment opportunities, and transnational trade. Please, everybody, help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Harry Dunkwu. Mr. Harry, we appreciate you. I appreciate you so much for joining me and taking the opportunity to join me on The Color of Motion. How are you doing this evening?
Sure.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Okay.
That is great. Like I said, I appreciate you so much because I know it's a serious time difference between where I am and where you are. It is what 10 after 9, 10 after 9 there almost 9:30. Yeah,
Yeah.
close. So I know we're getting close to bedtime probably for you. So
Yeah.
looking forward to really diving into and sitting down and having a great little conversation with you. Um, let's start by telling us a little bit about your how you got started. Have you always kind of been artistically inclined? When did you kind of start picking up drawing?
Okay. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to be featured on your show. I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much.
No.
Um, I started. I started. I studied science. Engineering. An engineering major. I studied electrical electronics engineering in university in Nigeria. Somewhere around my graduation in 2012, I thought about what I want to do with my life, and I always knew that from my past, which was more into the area of leadership. I was leadership chair of National Society of Black Engineers. I had like a history and a past, in leadership. I was particularly interested in leadership, and for me to be a leader as choosing a particular career, I thought about how I was going to lead as an engineer. I did my research and found out that the kind of companies I would love to work in Nigeria did not exist at that point in time. I was thinking about working in 3M. Like my dream job was to work in 3M,
Okay.
but there was no 3M. There was no 3M in my country. I wanted to innovate. I wanted to, I always had a creative mind, and I thought 3M was the perfect place for me, but it never existed in my country. So I thought about what I wanted to do in my life, and I stumbled upon doing comics. I started, doing comics because I knew that I had like an artistic background,
Yeah.
my own personal artistic background. Um, so I have been teaching myself how to draw up until this point, and decided, oh, you know what? How about we take this, to the next level, and started out with comics. I started out with comics in 2012, and at some point I pivoted into animation. At some point in 2015, after entering different business competitions in my country, I saw that comics was not so lucrative as a business in my country, so I decided to pivot into doing animation. There was more business in animation because more corporate organizations wanted to do commercials and stuff like that. So I decided to, run in that direction, and that's how I found myself on this path. And ever since 2015, I've been, innovating and evolving into understanding the industry of animation much better, up onto where I am today. So now I'm doing more full-time animation production um, in my country, Nigeria. That's
Gotcha.
where I'm based, and I'm working on a short film at the moment, and hopefully we'll get
Yeah.
more into that. That's pretty
So,
much my background.
so growing up, what kind of cartoons did you watch growing up in Nigeria, or were there cartoons that would show on TV over there? And what kind of did you grow up on?
I want to believe that I grew up watching the same cartoons that every other kid around the world did. We had Cartoon Network, we had um, all the various shows, the Tom and
So
Jerry's, the
Disney, like
um,
Disney, Warner, like Disney Animation and Warner Brothers, were those were kind of cartoons you kind of grew up and kind of watched and really liked.
yes, yes, we watched everything. The Bugs Bunnies, the Warner Bros. Cartoons, and all. We had there was a channel on terrestrial TV that used to show cartoons on Saturday mornings. You know, and also we used to watch cartoons on around 4 p.m. on weekdays. We used to watch Voltron. I don't know if you know Voltron.
Voltron, yeah, Voltron,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. We
good,
grew up watching Voltron, and the likes of that. So
good.
yeah.
Well, that's kind of and it's interesting that you say that because I've talked to quite a few uh, animators and designers that kind of started in the engineering space before they moved
Mm.
into art and design. So it's interesting that
Oh
that's
really?
kind of the space that you're coming from.
Yeah.
For real. So what is, I mean, do you see the industry there growing now, or more opportunities in this space in Nigeria really growing now and becoming more accessible to others?
Yes, the industry is growing very fast. We are seeing a lot of development from um, small studios, working on ambitious projects. We just had a feature film, the first um, cinema standard feature film released in Nigeria just this week. So people are making efforts to do things, and the industry is growing. It's still infant, but it's growing. It has a lot of potentials because we are seeing partnerships. For example, Disney just partnered with a studio in Nigeria
Okay,
to create to create his first show, the first African originated show on Disney Plus. So there's huge potentials. You know, the the studio giants are seeing these opportunities, and they are starting to look into partnership with Nigerian or African creators.
got you, got you. You have a very kind of uh, unique style, and the work is so really colorful. And one of the things, and one of the questions I really did want to kind of ask you, because I'm kind of curious myself, is what are your kind of thoughts on Black Panther? Because that was such a big movie worldwide, that really kind of
Yeah,
one first that was really kind of the first movie that really put blacks in kind of a positive spin and position,
yeah,
and two really
yeah.
highlighted and showcased the regality of where we come from. So what was your perspective and thought on it when you saw it and it came out?
You know, Black Panther was a long time coming. You know, I feel like Black Panther is the culmination was what we've been craving for. Finally coming to pass. Black Panther reshaped culture and birthed dreams of people in this part of the world to begin to realize that we can actually go mainstream worldwide. Um, I particularly, first of all, I want to say this in honor to Charlie Boseman. Charlie Boseman's performance
Yeah,
in Black Panther, motivated me to, start on a path in animation, and he was like a a hero
yeah,
of mine, like a real life hero of mine, and losing him was like really really painful.
yeah,
It was. I
yeah,
mean, I never met him before. I never met him before. I hope that I would have met him. That I would have met, but I cried. It was really really painful to lose Charlie Boseman.
yeah,
And his, his performance. Like I said, his performance was awesome, and he embodied that personality. That hero that we all looked up to in this part of the world. And Black Panther was a pivotal moment. I believe when we look back in history, maybe 50 years from now or 30 years from now, we'll remember this point in history. Remember 2017 when Black Panther was released and how it reshaped the future of entertainment forever. Especially from Africa. How it
definitely.
inspired a lot of people to create their own original stories straight out of Africa. So, yes, for me, Black Panther was not just a movie; it was um, the catalyst for change. It was a catalyst um, for new ideas and new creators coming
Yeah,
out of Africa.
yeah. Now it was such a powerful movie, and I think, like I said, well, we all knew. I think those of us knew that, hey, our stories are just as engaging as any other story, but I think it caught a lot of people off guard because they didn't know how big and how, just a massive impact that
Yeah,
it would make. And it is such a loss that Chadwick Boseman passed because one, when it came out, I just knew that there were going to be sequels and just more and more Black
mm,
Panther movies that he was going to do. So that is such a
yeah,
loss, and I have no idea how they plan on even moving that story even
yeah.
forward after such an impactful performance. But I'm curious, um, from your perspective, or maybe some of the your friends or people that you know over there, were there things that was there anything that they got right or got wrong in the movie that you saw? I mean, was it pretty? I mean, even though it was a fantastical movie with the sci-fi-ness of it all, but just the portrayal of of
Mm.
Africans and how they're perceived outside. Was there anything that you saw just didn't quite resonate right with me, or was everything kind of spot on, like the wardrobe and everything to you? What was it that they got right, and what was it that they got wrong that you think?
Okay, so some people would say the VFX wasn't so perfect because we could see some mistakes during the fight between Killmonger and Black Panther towards the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
But um, for me, I think what matters most is the story. The story was very strong. I think the story was strong enough um, to let us ignore the possible or the some obvious mistakes. But for me, the only thing I can take away from it that I thought could have been better is if they were real Africans who portrayed some of the characters. You know, people who actually lived in Africa, as opposed to black people of color in the U.S. You
yeah,
know, no
yeah,
disrespect to people of color in the US, but there's some things like the accent, you know, how they talk, you know, they don't really get the right intonations. The way we talk in Africa is not the same way they try to portray it in the movies, in most Hollywood movies. So I
yeah,
think that's one area that they can actually improve on. But it would easily they could easily solve that problem if they actually hired people who lived in Africa.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think as far as I know, the only really two ones were Lupita Nyong'o. Um, of course, she played one of the main characters, and Denai Guerrero, which I actually really like from The
Yeah.
Walking Dead. But uh, which they probably had some, and I'm not even sure if the uh, no, I don't think he's an African actor. The guy that played the antagonist, not Killmonger, but uh, the other one that family took in um, Chadwick's character after he got dethroned, or the tribe that took in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can't remember his name, and I'm not sure if he's a African. But the only ones that I really knew for sure was Lupita Nyong'o and
Yeah.
Denai Guerrero were really the only two that I knew that were from Africa, even though they live over here now, or are, for the most part, are working over here. But that's interesting because, like I said, it's always interesting how the perspective is coming from actually Africa, what they would see and view as that. Um, what about the wardrobe and the kind of costumes? Like I said, I thought it really grabbed or really caught the colorfulness of the wardrobe, as I can see from your shirt is really colorful, and it has a lot of patterns and designs on it, which you tend to put into your
Mm.
work a lot. I mean, is that the style um, and flair that's over there?
Okay. So about Wakanda, first of all, Wakanda is not a real country,
Yeah, it's
so
not a real country.
we can allow something. Yeah, so we can allow some things pass. You know, this is still a fictional world, so maybe we can allow them to not everything has to be perfectly um, perfect with respect to what actually exists in Africa. We don't have to have realistic references, perfectly realistic references. For the patterns and some of the colors and designs I choose for my artwork, they actually um, they're actually inspired by real African colors and real African patterns. For me, doing these artworks is a way of studying to improve my visual understanding and to build my visual library to understand the colors and patterns that are originally African. So it's just me exploring the possibilities of what is authentically African as opposed to doing just what everybody else is doing. So the reason I actually started doing more of original or African artworks is because there are lots of artists out there who are creating awesome stuff. You know, the cool video, game development, arts, comics, and superheroes and everything. But I wanted to, I needed to see characters that I see every day. I needed to I needed to, yeah, I needed to explore. I think representation is important. Representation with respect to what is familiar with us in Africa. I see a lot of representation of black people, misrepresentation of black people, Africans rather. We have a lot of people have the impression of blacks as or Africa as the place where people are living beside a jungle with monkeys jumping all over the place from tree to trees. You know, um, Africa is not Africa is not a dirty place. Africa is not a place that is with poverty-stricken people where we see all their rib cages and everything. We have cities in Africa. We have beautiful cities in Africa. We have beautiful people. We have culture, very colorful cultures, and tribes and ethnic groups. And I need to use my art to portray this positive light of Africa. For the world to learn. A lot of people think Africa too is also a country. But Africa has over 50 countries inside of it. It's a continent.
continent.
And Nigeria alone has over 250 ethnic groups. So if I'm designing characters of the Igbo tribe, that we have at least 249 more tribes that have very distinct colors. So it's Africa is a beautiful place, and I think we need to see the world needs to see more of that.
Yeah,
That's why I do what I do.
gotcha, gotcha. So, where do you, what are your kind of hopes to take what you're doing and your talents as far as Africa goes? What is your goal for really kind of promoting the industry and really elevating the industry?
Okay, so I want to build multi-billion-dollar franchises from out of Africa, original stories out of Africa. I see the possibility of building a, an original idea, just like Star Wars, but for Africa.
Yeah,
You know, I see I see what is going on right now in the world as a black economic renaissance, in the sense that everybody's now beginning to realize that there's a continent called Africa where stories have not been explored at all. And everybody's, the spotlight is on our continent and everybody's looking in that direction now. And that's an opportunity for us as creators, because now we can get to design, create our own Star Wars. We can get to create our own Marvel Cinematic Universe. We can get to create what is originally ours, and we'll have as much a fan base as every other franchise, every other popular or successful franchise in the world. So this is why I'm getting into this. I'm getting into this to explore storytelling that is originally African, that the world can follow and learn and embrace and let and be be fans of. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
gotcha, gotcha. Oh man, everybody that's joining us and will join us, I am with my very special guest. Harry Dunkwu, illustrator and designer from Lagos, Nigeria, and we are having a great conversation about just the culture, art. So, would that mean because obviously you said you were kind of self-taught in this space? Would that mean creating schools there that are now teaching and really uh, promoting the industry there?
I didn't get the question, sorry.
No, I was saying, obviously, you said you were self-taught, so there aren't a lot of schools there that are teaching this. Would that mean really making more schools there available? And I know now with the internet, it's easy to really get training and learning online. But do you see the opportunity and the space to really have schools there that teach in person
Mhm.
the industry of design, art, animation, and film there?
Yeah. So first of all, Africa is there's definitely opportunities in Africa, especially Nigeria. Nigeria is the most populous black nation on the earth. We have at least 70 million young people in my country, and there are a lot of people from this amount of people. There are a lot of them who are interested in arts and creative arts, but we do not have institutions that are teaching digital arts. So what we have in Nigeria right now is more of traditional arts. We have the artists who go to school to learn how to sculpt, how to
Yeah,
paint, how to do mixed media arts and things like that. But it's more traditional. We do not really have digital artists. We don't have institutions for digital artists, and this is what I hope that in time I'll be able to, with auspices from the Ministry of Education, make happen in my country. But for now, we don't have that.
got you, got you. Um, a quick question, which you kind of alluded to before, how people are kind of viewing uh, uh, Africans from our perspective, or what we think Africa is. What do you what do you see needs to be some of the changes in uh, just that diversity and really kind of promoting more designers and animators and artists from Africa per se? And before you dive into that question and answer, we are going to take a quick commercial break. Please make sure that you join us back. We're going to, like I said, take a quick commercial break, and we're going to get into that answer soon. And we are back. We are back. Uh, we were talking about diversity. What are your thoughts on what needs to be done to really make a change in just the people that are telling their stories and diversity in the industry
Okay. Are you speaking of globally or in my country?
in your country and just as a whole? I mean, like you said, we're not getting a lot of, especially over here. I mean,
Yeah.
you have people over here trying to tell the perspective of a story, of, like, say, Black Panther. You got American filmmakers, writers, artists that may be black, but are still telling the perspective of the story of Africa and the culture of Africa. How do you think? How do you see that change being done, or what are your thoughts on, like you said before, having actual Africans and people of different diversities really playing a key role in the stories that are told about them?
Yeah, so I think this is very important, that people get to tell their own stories. We always say to ourselves in Nigeria that we do not want to wait for Disney to tell our stories for us. We do not have to wait for them to tell our stories for us. We believe that is our responsibility. First of all, every human being has unique experiences, and there's no way somebody who grew up in Japan, for example, can tell a story about living in Lagos better than I can because I grew up in Lagos. So there's something about there's importance. The importance lies basically in things. If you want things to be original, let it be let the storyteller be someone who has experienced what they are talking about, or the story they are telling. So I think that it is important for representation in this light. We have had the um, the Western world tell stories about Africa, Egypt, for example, where they portray Egyptians as white people. This.
Oh man, we lost our guest. He will. I'm pretty sure he will. And as you know, this is kind of the thing with live shows. Sometimes it happens, of course, and he's back. Hold on while he logs back in. You gotta love live streaming because, like I said, you roll with what goes on and happens. We lost you there for a second, Harry. Go ahead and finish your thought of what you were saying.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So we have the Western world portraying Egypt in a certain light where we have Egyptians who are white, and we don't have Egyptians that are black. But history has shown us that Egypt was actually from the Kemet people who were blacks. They were actually Negro Egyptians, and but we hardly see this in the movies, in the Hollywood movies. So yeah, it's very important for that representation to be there and not having to wait for the Western world to tell the story for us. We have to tell our stories for ourselves. There's plenty of room for originality in that regard, as opposed to waiting for them. So yes, it is important for representation. We need more script writers from Africa. We need more creators from Africa. We need more artists from Africa. We need as much as possible. The value chain is pretty long. Starting from concept development to pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. Why can't we have people from each of these different parts of the value chain from Africa? So that this is the direction. This is what I'm all about, and where I'm headed with what I'm doing, because I hope to make as much money so that I can bring it back to my country, develop the industry such that we have personnel, human resources in each of these value chains, human resources that can match with any part of the world
Yeah,
on with respect to quality standard. That's what I want for Africa.
gotcha. Are there any particular type of stories that you want to produce or like? I mean, like I said, there's a lot of different stories, but do you have an affinity for action or horror or love stories, or I mean, or do you just want to tell the gamut of what Lagos is and the culture of what goes on?
Okay, so I have a strong affinity for adventure, for fantasy, and sci-fi. Those
Ah,
three genres, I'm very, very interested in that.
okay, okay. So what, I mean, outside of capturing your everyday life, what kind of things kind of inspire you and keep you motivated and keep your creativity going?
Okay, so I do my own research. I study history. I study history. I study mythology, mythologies from Africa, especially history from Africa, of course. I read books generally to get as much inspiration. I This year, I and my team were able to create three original ideas, three original story franchise ideas, and we are at the development stages for each of them, especially one. So what I do with my time basically is to get to do some research to be able to gather as much references to build these story walls or the story walls for these stories.
Uh,
So that's how I get inspiration. I also get inspiration from doing sketches like the series about studying headdresses from Africa, and female heads, and doing some exploratory sketches on cultural style, fashion and style from Africa and the likes. So yeah, um, I don't know if that answers your question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What advice would you give somebody that's interested in getting into the industry? What would you tell them, or what kind of advice would you give to them?
So we need as many people in the industry as possible. So I will not discourage anybody from joining us. We need as much people. But first, I would like to encourage them to be sure that this is what they want to do, because I didn't figure it out from day one. I've done a lot of trial and errors. I've lost money in the process. I've embarked on different paths that wounded up being a waste, somewhat like a waste of time, but obviously a learning curve for me. So I would advise you to be sure that this is what you want to do first of all. Um, but if you are sure that this is what you want to do, I think you should read, get as much knowledge. They say if you want to hide something from a black man, you should put it in writing. I beg to differ. I hope that is not the case because I read. So I hope that you take some time, do some research about the industry, understand the value chain, understand how it works in different parts of the world, the way animation is produced, stories are told in Asia is not the same way it's told in the Western world. It's
Yeah,
not the same way it's told in Europe. Learn the different things, learn the ropes, learn the value chain, learn the business side of things. Especially if you want to be an artist, that's a different um, direction altogether. If you want to be a business person in the industry, it's different from the art side. But I'd advise as an artist, even as an artist, to learn the business of animation because we have very few artists that think like entrepreneurs. We need artists that think like entrepreneurs so that
yeah,
we are able to hold on to uh, as much stake as much stake in what we produce,
yeah,
so that we're not giving the short end of the stick, or you know um, deceived, or sign contracts where we're like selling our souls, away.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we should learn the business side of things, either whether you are interested in the business or you're interested in being an artist.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, that's. I think that's very key in owning your own content and having a say in the direction of your content is always key and what you should always strive to do for the most part, for sure. Um, if you were to kind of go back in time and stand in front of your younger, and you would be standing in front of your younger self as a kid, is there anything that you would tell your younger self that you have kind of learned now that you would tell your younger self?
Oh, let me see. So it's hard for me to say that I have regrets in my life because I probably would not be where I am if all the things that happened to me didn't happen. So I don't mean um, to sound inconsiderate, or but I think that I'll tell my younger self to continue to take his the artistic or creative side seriously, and not to you know to remain confident in being an artist, remain confident in exploring more of the creative side than any other side. um, yeah,
Now, was that
I don't think I would say much because
now was
yeah.
that something that you, or is this that something that you that you have trouble with or struggle with at times? Just confidence, or just um, I don't want to say like lack of confidence, but just sometimes not sure of your abilities, or where it can go. Do you ever have those moments where you do you know kind of struggle with, is this good enough, or is this the right thing, or are you comfortable in what you do and what you create, and don't really worry too much about that? Because I know as an artist, sometimes you can
So
get kind of in your head as far as, is this the right piece, or is does this look right to me?
yeah, I think artists generally struggle with I don't know if you to call it imposter syndrome,
Okay,
but there's so there's this form of insecurity as to whether your work is good enough compared to what people in other parts of the world are producing, especially the artists you look up to. I still have those struggles as an artist, but I've garnered more experience or more confidence over time. Being a bit from my experience, I've gathered some confidence, and no matter how much I know, I still know that I don't know enough because there will be people I will meet that I will definitely learn from. I'm experiencing that, at this point in time. So I wrote a story, for example, a short film, and I was so sure that the story was perfect until I met somebody else who you know changed the entire thing. So yeah, no matter how good you are, there's probably someone better than you. So it makes sense to be humble, to get some degree of humility, but not so much that we look down upon ourselves and be inferior or
yeah.
think that someone else is superior to us. Yes.
Gotcha. So you're saying you're doing a lot of writing. Do you kind of prefer the story writing to the drawing, or which do you kind of like, or do you
Mm.
enjoy doing both and creating both? I mean, do you enjoy the actually crafting a original story, or sitting down drawing the artwork and doing the artwork and the animation for it?
Okay, yeah, this is a very good question because I've learned over time to find my my one of my lecturers, senior lecturers in university, used to tell us that in engineering there's a concept called continuum. So when you learn from one place, what you learn from one class is somewhat connected to what you learn from every other class. I kind of imbibe that philosophy of continuum in my creative career because writing is very much similar to designing a character. All these things are all connected. Telling a story. I mean, for every illustration, for example, that I do, there's a story inside of it. So storytelling, illustration, all these things. There's they are seamlessly connected together. There's a common thread running through every single one of them, and I tried not to make them, different from each other. They are all to me the same. I enjoy the process of creating, especially creating story worlds that can be explored by writers, by artists, and different people that will be hired to work on the project. So yeah, I enjoy the process of creating stories as much as I enjoy doing arts, designing characters and doing illustration.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Now, this has been, like I said, as you know, I am sitting down with my guest, Harry Dunkwu, from Lagos, Nigeria, and we have had a great discussion about just his journey into the industry, what he's working on, his thoughts and ideas that he has got going on. It has been a honor, Harry, and I first want to acknowledge you for one connecting with me and agreeing to be on the show. I thank you so much because I have
Yeah,
so much enjoyed and still do enjoy uh, seeing your work and your style of how you're crafting your characters is such an amazing thing. And I know that there are so many talented artists, animators, designers coming out of not just Nigeria, but Africa as a whole, coming to tell so many different variations of stories that I'm excited to really start to see. So I so appreciate you taking this time for sure. And I do want to respect your time because I know it is a major time difference between the two of us. But I do want to acknowledge that and really appreciate your friendship.
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Everybody, you definitely need to check out and connect with Harry. Like I said, his company, Scroll Entertainment, doing such great work. You can check out more of his work at scrollentertainment.com. He has an awesome product he just released, African Females. It's such great drawings and such passion and such emotion that you'll definitely learn some skills and really learn an appreciation for the culture and everything that's coming out of it. It's definitely part of my culture for sure. I mean, I don't like thinking of us as separate. I just like to think that I was born over here. I mean, I know, my original ancestors obviously came from Africa, originated from Africa. So I always have had an affinity for the culture. But like you were saying, over here, we have such a different perspective and perception of what we see that it's definitely not the norm of what is over there and what is actually over there, which is why visiting Africa is on my bucket list for sure. Because I do know that we're giving a different perspective for sure. And it's we come from such a beautiful, rich culture that I'm excited to see the stories that come up out of it for sure.
Yeah,
Uh, you can definitely connect with Harry on Instagram. Check out more of his work. Harry Dunkwu on Instagram. He's also active on Twitter as well. And you can connect with him. And I'll be posting all of these in the show link for sure. But connect with him on Facebook. If you want to see even more of his work, he also is on ArtStation as well. Uh, Mr. Emery, we appreciate you jumping in there, Mr. Emery. Another great, talented brother that I'm still working on to get on the show, game developer. has an awesome game, but he is passionate like you on really highlighting uh, Black designers and the experience from our culture, and having more representation. So, Emery, we're working on getting you on there for sure, on the show for sure. So I appreciate you tuning in. Uh, any parting words before I let you go, Harry? Like I said, it's such an honor to have you and call you a friend.
Mm. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. If you are a creative person out there, um, try to understand the times that we are in. We are at a very critical point in history where there's a black economic renaissance, and you don't want to miss out on this opportunity to um, to take part in the wealth transfer that's going on in the world, wealth transfer from the Western world to Africa, because the spotlight is on Africa. So if you're an African or a black person, that is sure that your roots are from Africa, then you should take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I like to say this is definitely a great time to be a content creator and get your ideas and stories out. And we're starting to see a lot more people, not just Africans or blacks, but just from different cultures, start to put out their stories
Yeah,
and have them represent
yeah,
their stories in such an engaging way. And we live in such a time where there's so many different platforms that you're able to utilize, whether it's YouTube, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, that you can get your content out there and not necessarily have to go the traditional route of going to a studio or going to Disney or going to Pixar if you don't want to and you have an idea, put it out there and you'll really start to get the exposure that you need. um, Harry, we are definitely going to have you back on for sure. So looking forward to seeing more projects from you and definitely the opportunity of working together on a project. Like I said, I foresee that
sure.
as a possibility of happening for sure. I want to thank, before I let you go, Harry, like I said, I know it's late, and I usually like to have the guests hang around for just 1 minute, but I know it's going on 10 o'clock there, Harry, so I'm not going to do that with you because I know it's
Mhm.
late. But I'm going to get with you on LinkedIn and message you tomorrow and touch base with you. So I'm on that note, I'm going to let you go, Harry. But thank you, brother, for agreeing to be on the show and really sharing your journey and your story.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Everybody, welcome. Help me in again saying thank you to our guests for being on. So, on that note, Harry, I am going to let you go. Again, I'm going to be connecting with you tomorrow. Like I said, I know it's late there, and I'm not going to keep you, but I will touch base with you tomorrow and connect with you. So, I
Okay.
will talk to you a little bit later, Harry,
Sure.
for sure, and we will
All right.
we have you back on, brother.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Everybody, it's been such a great show. Oh, Mr. Michael, appreciate you tuning in there, Mr. Michael. Another great guest. Please make sure you check out the replay. You can check me out on, like I said, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube for sure. Um, Hit me up and I would like to hear from you. You can always connect with me at donterrell.com. Don at donterrell.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you know of somebody that you would love to see on the show or feel like you'd make a great guest, please hit me up for sure, because I would love to talk with you. Again, this is The Color of Motion, where stories come in all shades. And make sure that you join us each and every Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you tune in next week because it's going to be a great show next week. Next week, my guest is going to be Luciano Munoz Sasarego, going to be on a great animator for sure. We've had a great chance to connect and talk, and really looking forward to diving and having a sit down with him as well. So make sure you tune in next week, same time, 3 p.m. Central. It's going to be a great show for sure. With that, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. I will look to see you next Saturday. And remember, stories come in all shades.